Hi, Jason. Great post. We talked about many of the same points through both of our posts, and I think we can make a consensus that the Shah in Iran established this idea of modernization in Iran and a push from somewhat of traditional values in Iran to values of the West, which so many in Iran tend to reject. I believe so many rejected this because of the power of the social elite trying to remain in power. Westernization could lead to more open elections and other parties to become involved, an idea they do not like because they could potentially lose power if there are free and open elections. The majority in Iran still believe in a traditional system, and they're not open for a modern or Western influence coming around. So this is a huge factor for opposition in Iran. And I think, therefore, this idea of opposition is kind of parallel to an opposition of democracy, which we have seen throughout many Middle Eastern regions throughout this semester. And Saudi Arabia is more open to modernization and adopting these Western values, which I think proves to be very beneficial for the country. However, I agree with you on all those aspects, but the point that you mentioned towards the end, more specifically, and actually throughout your post, is this idea that Saudi Arabia doesn't compare now to Iran, but they may compare in the future to Iran with this idea of opposition. And I would have to disagree because of the differences between the two countries. First, Saudi Arabia is more accepting of Western influence, which could potentially be beneficial to the country and could help citizens in the long run. With more social and human rights. Saudi Arabia we saw in the chapter that Saudi Arabia adopted more free and open elections through the Cultivative Assembly and is more open to Western ideas, which can better help the people because it can give the people more rights. Second, tension was created between the two countries from the 1987 Haji incident, and towards the end, Saudi Arabia cut diplomatic relations with Iran. And so, and then Saudi Arabia and the United States haven't always had the greatest relationship, but the two have had a relationship as Saudi Arabia has tried to adopt Western ideas, and the West has been willing to help Saudi Arabia in many instances. And I think that Iran is against this relationship because, first of all, Iran is against Western principles, so therefore they're against a Middle Eastern country trying to adopt these Western principles. And so just to wrap it up, these countries are different in comparison, and they have different principles. So I don't think they would have similar opposition within the country because the two, in my opinion, the two would want to be so far apart from each other as possible because of the disagreements, the intention the two countries have had throughout history. Yes, Saudi Arabia, there may be opposition in Saudi Arabia, but I think the opposition would be different from Iran because of the two different principles within the countries and two complete different ideas in the country. More specifically, Western. Sorry, my dogs are playing around. With Western principles in one country and traditional Islamic principles in another country. So that's my post for the week, and I look forward to your feedback and more posts.